Pelican Bay's shoreline stretched endlessly in both directions, a vast strip of untouched sand completely empty on this quiet Tuesday morning in early October. Not another person could be seen across the miles of flawless white beach. Just me, my 4-year-old daughter Lily, and the woman who would soon haul her oversized beach chair across 50 yards of open sand only to sit a mere 2 meters away from us. My name is Ryan Chambers, 36 years old, a financial analyst living in Tampa. This particular Tuesday was something rare, a genuine day off. My company had gifted us a mental health break, and Lily's preschool happened to be closed for staff training. The weather was perfect, 78 degrees, a soft breeze, and the Gulf calm as glass. I packed our beach gear with all the essentials: sunscreen, juice boxes, goldfish crackers, and enough sand toys to construct an entire miniature kingdom. Lily, in her beloved mermaid swimsuit, chattered non-stop about seashells and the massive sandcastle she was determined to build. We pulled into Pelican Bay around 9:30 a.m. The parking lot looked practically abandoned, only 3 cars scattered across its vast stretch. Out on the beach, the sand gleamed under the morning sun, endless and undisturbed. I set up our rainbow umbrella midway between the parking area and the water, spreading out our blanket. Lily wasted no time, grabbing her little shovel and squealing with delight when she realized the deeper sand was cooler and darker. That's when I noticed her. A woman emerged from the parking lot dragging behind her what looked like a wagon for a month-long expedition. Her visor was so wide it could double as satellite equipment. Her sunglasses screamed designer brand, and she wore a neon pink cover-up that flared dramatically in the breeze. Her cart looked absurdly overstocked. Multiple chairs, a professional-grade umbrella straight out of a resort, several coolers, and what seemed like an entire sunscreen aisle arranged by SPF. This was Sandra Kellerman, though her name would only become known to me much later, once the police showed up. She paused, surveying the vast emptiness of the beach with the seriousness of a general planning her campaign. To the left of us, at least 300 yards of empty sand stretched toward a rocky outcrop. To the right, the shoreline curved out of sight half a mile away. Behind, only quiet dunes. Ahead, the Gulf sparkled peacefully, broken only by an occasional bird skimming the waves. Sandra had literally miles of choices. Yet, after all the surveying, she marched her cart straight at us, zeroing in like we were a signal she had been searching for. Stopping precisely 2 meters from our blanket, close enough I could hear her labored breathing, she began setting up her fortress of comfort. Her chair faced the water at just the right angle to disguise the fact that her eyes were fixed on us. Lily, blissfully unaware, continued digging. She squealed with joy when water seeped into her hole. "Daddy, look! I found the ocean under the sand. It's magic!" she cried, hopping around her discovery with her arms stretched like an airplane. Her squeaks of laughter and whoosh-whoosh sounds filled the air. Sandra's head snapped toward us so abruptly I half expected her neck to crack. Sliding her sunglasses down, she shot us a glare so sour it could have curdled milk. She then performed a loud, exaggerated throat clear, the kind clearly meant to scold rather than relieve. I ignored it, kneeling beside Lily to help pour water into the hole. Lily squealed again as the water vanished. "The sand is eating it. It's hungry," she shouted, sprinting toward the ocean with her bucket, singing an impromptu song about sand monsters. "Excuse me." Sandra's voice sliced through the peaceful morning like a rusty saw. "Excuse me, sir. Your child is being extremely loud." I looked around at the endless, empty beach, then back at her, half expecting hidden cameras. "She's 4 years old. And this is a beach," I said, keeping my voice calm. Sandra adjusted her enormous visor with the precision of someone preparing for battle. "That may be true, but some of us come here for serenity. Your daughter's shrieking is disrupting my meditation." I glanced at her setup. No yoga mat, no soft music, just a romance novel with a shirtless man on the cover and a frosty margarita parked in the cup holder. At not even 10 a.m. apologies if our presence at this public beach is disrupting your spiritual journey, I said, letting the sarcasm drip. "Maybe one of the other miles of completely empty beach would suit you better." Her face flushed red, clashing with her neon outfit. I have every right to sit here. In fact, I was here first, technically, because I'm a premium beach club member. She whipped out a laminated card like it was a badge of authority. You just got here 30 seconds ago? I replied flatly. We've been here 20 minutes. And by the way, there's no such thing as a Pelican Bay premium beach club. This is a county beach. Sandra sputtered, her cheeks deepening in color. Well, I'm starting one, she declared with self-importance. And when my premium club becomes official, noisy people like you will be forced into designated family zones far away from civilized beachgoers. At that exact moment, Lily came running back, clutching her bucket full of water. She stumbled slightly, splashing a bit onto the sand, and a few drops landed close to Sandra's perfectly arranged towel. Sandra recoiled as if she'd just been doused with acid. Now she's throwing water at me. That's assault. I could have you arrested. I stared at her in disbelief. It's seawater. At a beach. You do realize water tends to be everywhere here, right? With a dramatic flourish, she pulled out her phone. We'll see what the authorities have to say about this. She tapped 911 and lifted the phone to her ear, her voice booming as soon as the dispatcher answered. 911, what's your emergency? Came the calm operator's voice, audible even to me. Yes, I need to report an assault and disturbance at Pelican Bay Beach, Sandra declared, as though she were narrating a crime drama. A child threw water at me and is shrieking uncontrollably. Her father refuses to control her. There was a pause. Ma'am, did you just say a child threw water at you? At a beach? Yes, Sandra insisted, her voice rising. And she's been screaming like a wounded pelican for over an hour. A bold exaggeration, given we'd been within her sight for all of 3 minutes. Ma'am, is the child injured or in distress? Is this a medical emergency? No, Sandra said indignantly. She's just obnoxious, running around like some feral beach goblin. Her father is letting her terrorize everyone. The dispatcher's sigh was audible. Ma'am, children playing on a beach is not a police matter. Unless there's a true emergency. This is an emergency, Sandra interrupted. My peace is being destroyed. I pay taxes. I demand someone be sent immediately. Ma'am. The operator's voice hardened. Misuse of 911 is a crime. If there's no emergency. Sandra hung up before the sentence finished and immediately dialed another number. Fine. I'll call Beach Patrol directly. My cousin's ex-husband's brother works for the county. Let's see how funny you think this is when you're banned from every beach in Florida. She launched into a tirade against an automated menu system. Lily tugged at my swim shorts, her little face worried. Daddy, why is that lady so mad? Did I do something wrong? I knelt beside her and spoke just loudly enough for Sandra to hear. No, sweetheart. Some people wake up angry and spend the whole day looking for excuses to stay that way. You didn't do anything wrong. Want to build our sandcastle now? Lily's face brightened instantly. She grabbed her bucket and shovel, gathering her construction supplies with excitement. We shifted a little farther down the beach, still close enough to overhear Sandra's rant, which at this point was almost a comedy act. Eventually, she managed to get a live person on the line, her voice filled with drama as she demanded immediate intervention for what she called acoustic terrorism committed by a minor. About 15 minutes later, while Lily worked in near silence on her sandcastle masterpiece, an ATV rumbled across the sand toward us. The driver, a sun-baked man in his 50s wearing the official County Beach Patrol uniform, slowed to a stop in front of Sandra. His expression suggested he was already tired of the nonsense before a word was spoken. Ma'am, he said evenly, I'm Officer Martinez, County Beach Patrol. We received a report that you've been harassing a family with a small child. Sandra's jaw practically hit the sand. Harassing them? I called you. I'm the victim. That child has been screaming non-stop, throwing sand and water everywhere. Officer Martinez glanced at Lily, who was quietly pressing sand into a bucket, then looked out at the endless stretch of empty shoreline before turning back to Sandra. Ma'am, Can you explain why you decided to set up right next to this family when there are literally miles of free space available? It's a free country, Sandra snapped. I can sit wherever I want. Yes, ma'am, you can, Martinez agreed evenly. And they can play wherever they want. This is a public beach. Children are allowed to make a reasonable amount of noise during the day. He pulled a small notebook from his pocket. However, I need to document this incident. You're Sandra Kellerman, correct? The same Sandra who called 911 last month claiming seagulls were stalking you. Sandra's face shifted from red to an alarming shade of purple. They were stalking me. They knew I had snacks. Ma'am, that's what seagulls do. This is their natural environment. Martinez replied flatly as he continued writing. And 2 months ago, you reported a sandcastle blocking your view? It was enormous. At least 4 feet high. Sandra insisted. Martinez sighed, shaking his head. This makes 3 false complaints in 3 months. I have to issue a formal warning for misuse of emergency services. One more call like this, and you'll face a $500 citation. He handed her the warning slip, which she snatched with trembling hands. This is discrimination. I'm a taxpayer. I have rights. Yes, ma'am, and so do they. Enjoy your beach day. Martinez gave me a subtle wink before heading back toward his ATV. Sandra stood rooted in the sand, clutching the warning slip as if it were evidence of her persecution. Instead of leaving or even moving down the beach, she plopped back into her chair, phone raised like a weapon. I'm filming all of this for my lawyer. This will go viral. Innocent woman harassed by negligent father and corrupt beach patrol. I have 2,000 followers in my neighborhood Facebook group. I ignored her, helping Lily stack the walls of her sandcastle. Sandra began narrating loudly for her phone camera. As you can see, viewers, the child continues to make noise despite my polite requests for courtesy. The father refuses to enforce proper beach etiquette. Lily tilted her head in confusion. Daddy, what's etiquette? It's knowing how to behave politely in different situations. I explained loud enough for Sandra to hear. Like understanding that you shouldn't bother other people who are just enjoying their day. Sandra let out a furious huff and turned her lens to the water, launching into a tirade about society falling apart. That's when karma arrived, delivered by a particularly fearless seagull. It dove straight at her open tote, snatched a bag of organic kale chips, and sent her phone tumbling into the sand. Sandra shrieked. A sound so piercing it made Lily's happy squeals seem quiet by comparison, and swung her oversized visor at the bird. Thief! Flying rat! Call animal control! Unfazed, the seagull perched on her luxury umbrella and began leisurely eating the chips, scattering bits onto her chair. Within moments, 3 more birds joined the raid. One yanked her romance novel out of the sand. Another tore into her cooler, dragging out what looked like a pricey artisan sandwich, and the boldest landed squarely on her head, its claws tangling in her carefully styled hair. Sandra shrieked at opera volume, running in circles with the bird clinging to her scalp like a surfer catching a wave. Help! I'm being attacked. Somebody do something. Officer Martinez, who hadn't gotten far, turned his ATV around. One glance at the chaos, Sandra flailing while gulls demolished her setup, and he couldn't suppress a laugh. Ma'am, stop running. You're making it worse. Stand still and it'll fly off. Sandra froze, and the gull released her, flapping over to join its companions in feasting on her ruined supplies. She stood in place, hair a mess, makeup streaked, her neon cover-up splattered with bird droppings. I want those birds arrested, she screamed. Ma'am, Martinez said, almost pitying her. I cannot arrest seagulls. Then I'm suing the county. This beach is unsafe. And this is their fault, she shouted, pointing at me and Lily. They probably trained the birds to attack me. Martinez's patience snapped. So now you're claiming this man trained wild seagulls? That's enough. I'm issuing a citation for false reporting and public disturbance. That's a $500 fine due in 30 days. You'll also be placed on the county watch list. Any more trouble, and you'll be banned from all county beaches. Sandra's hands shook as she snatched the ticket. You haven't heard the last of this. My brother-in-law's a lawyer. Well, technically real estate law, but he'll know what to do. I'll sue everyone. The county, the patrol, you? She jabbed a finger at me. Especially you. Still ranting, she began shoving her ruined belongings into her cart. The seagulls, having eaten their fill, watched her with what almost looked like amusement. As she fumbled with her folding chair, her phone rang. She answered on speaker without thinking. Sandra, this is Margaret from the HOA board, a stern voice said. We just saw the video you uploaded, the one where you're harassing a father and child at the beach. Sandra paled. Margaret, no. I wasn't harassing anyone. I was documenting. Sandra, you literally filmed yourself calling 911 on a 4-year-old. The board is furious. We're holding an emergency vote tonight. Several members are demanding your removal as social committee chair. But I've been chair for 3 years, Sandra stammered. And in those 3 years, Margaret continued, you've driven away volunteers and stirred constant drama. This video is the final straw. The vote is at 7 p.m. I suggest you prepare a defense, though honestly, chasing a child with your phone while ranting about lawyers probably speaks for itself. The line clicked dead. Sandra stood motionless, clutching her phone in one hand, citation slip in the other, her setup in ruins around her. Whatever aura of control she once thought she had was gone, unraveled in less than an hour because she couldn't tolerate a 4-year-old playing happily on an otherwise empty beach. She shot me one final look, her mouth twitching as if to deliver a parting insult, but nothing came. Shoulders slumped, she gathered what was left of her belongings and dragged them toward the parking lot, her designer cover-up trailing in the sand. Officer Martinez shook his head. Third complaint this month, now a $500 fine, and likely booted from her HOA. Some folks just never learn. He turned to Lily, who had watched the entire spectacle with wide-eyed fascination. That's a great castle, kiddo. Is that a dragon on top? Lily grinned proudly. It's a seagull, a friendly one. They protect the castle from grumpy people. Martinez laughed. Looks like they did their job. He gave us a wave and rumbled off down the beach. Later that evening, a neighbor messaged me with an update from the HOA Facebook group. Sandra had been unanimously voted out of her social committee position, even her usual allies turning against her after seeing the beach video. The final count was 12-0. On top of her county fine, she now owed $300 in HOA penalties for behavior detrimental to community reputation, and was officially barred from organizing any neighborhood events for the next 2 years.